Hello, and welcome to the Nickels and Dimes Finding Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Keim, and I look forward to bringing you amazing content each week that will provide you with a financial education. It will support you in your financial journey, and most of all, help you to find financial freedom. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Nickels and Dimes Finding Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Keim, and today it's just you and I. We're going to talk all things budget, and hopefully I can share some information with you that can help you to either create a budget for yourself and your family, or maybe enhance one that you already have in place. So let's jump in. Okay, the most important thing you can have when it comes to your financial plan is a strong foundation. And that comes from having a budget that encompasses everything. So let's talk about what is a budget. It's an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. It's also defined as a quantity of material, typically that which is written or printed. So the process of creating a plan to spend your money, that's what a budget is. It allows you to determine in advance whether you will have enough money to do the things you need or would like to do in the future. And it helps you balance your expenses with your income. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I have a budget? You would be surprised as a financial professional, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, honestly, how many people I sit with that do not have a fully encompassing budget. A lot of people think that if they, balance their bank account, like that's their budget. But do you have a single place that encompasses everything that's coming in to your household financially, everything that's going out, and includes your savings, retirement products, and everything like that? That is truly what I'm talking about when I say the foundation of a healthy financial plan. In addition to having it, it should be a working tool that you're tapping into all the time. You should be reviewing it regularly. What is regularly? Well, in my opinion, best case scenario, you're taking a look at that every single week and you're identifying, where am I at for this month compared to where I plan to be? Now, for a lot of my clients, weekly is a big stretch for them, especially if they haven't been budgeting at all before they meet with me. And so at a minimum, I recommend that you review your budget in detail mid-month and at the end of the month. So last day of the month, first day of a new month, you're looking back at the previous month, updating your numbers and seeing exactly where you came in comparison to your plan. So for those of you who don't review your budget regularly, the question is why? Is it because you don't want to see the truth? Look, I'll be totally honest. There was a lot of times I didn't want to see the truth of where my budget was at. And usually it was during times that maybe I was out of work. And so I was utilizing my savings. I was maybe leaning on my credit cards a little bit. And I didn't want to see the impact of what was really happening. But the truth is, that was just a situation I was in for a period of time. And the best way to navigate any situation, even a situation that's moving along spot on exactly how you want it, the best way to manage your way through any kind of situation is to know exactly where you're at. If you pull the wool over your eyes, it's not going to make things go away. And in all honesty, I think most of the time, it can actually create a situation where you move in the wrong direction because you're not paying attention. Like in my story, I talked about, there were a couple of times I was laid off in my career. And then I worked for two companies back to back that filed bankruptcy. And the reality was, during those gaps in employment, I may have had a severance package. I may have had unemployment. I may have had, both severance for a while and then unemployment kicked in. But those are times that you need to cut back all of the extras to make sure that your emergency savings fills that gap. and to try and avoid having to lean on your credit cards as much as possible. Look, the truth is, you can't ever be in complete control of anything. But in your budget or possibly looking for a new job, you don't know if it's going to take you 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending on what the job market's like and what opportunities are available. But you've got to be paying attention to the adjusted amount you have coming in from severance or unemployment and what you have going out. Are you really cutting back all of the expenses you can to make your money last you as absolutely long as possible? Right? Or are you I mean, are you spot on? But at least, like, you've got enough worries on your plate in a situation like that to not have your arms around what's going on in your finances is, in my opinion, a worst case scenario and can create more issues throughout the process. So, look, I've been there where I haven't wanted to look at it. It was usually to my detriment that I didn't, is what I'm trying to say. So your bank account statement, your online account history, it does not count as a budget. I'm talking about a structured format in which you categorize all your expenditures, all your income, and you take a look at a transactional level twice a month. So let's talk about where you need to get started, right? If you don't have a budget whatsoever, if this is the first time you're tackling this, or you're listening to this podcast and you're saying to yourself, I've avoided it long enough and it's time to get on the budget bandwagon. How do you get started? First of all, you got to gather your data. You need to know your numbers. Make sure you pull together your pay stubs, your bank statements, your receipts. If you have a budget tracking software like Rocket Money or something similar to that, make sure you pull that in. Have your account statements for your car, your house, investments, any other debt that you have. Make sure you're pulling all of that information together so that you can get the exact precise numbers for each of the things you're going to be putting into your budget. So the next step would be, once you have all that information, you need to categorize it. So when it comes to income, you're going to have your salary listed, any investment income or rental income you have coming in, tax income. If you get a tax return, that's going to count in your income. Child support, a part-time job you want to record that income. If you have a business, part-time or full-time, you want to record all of those things. And I would separate them out so you really know exactly what's coming in from each of those different places. And the reason is because then you can really pay attention to, if you just lump it all together, then you can't really see, month over month, is my business income increasing, decreasing, to where you can really dig into those numbers and find out what's going on. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to take your business to the next level, or maybe you're making more than you had before because your business is growing. Maybe you got a raise at work. Whatever it is, to really have those line items in that category is super important. And then let's shift over to the expense side and the debt side. Okay. So you're going to have your household expenses. That's going to include your rent, utilities, cable, internet, cell phone, things like that. Right. And then you're going to have your auto category, maintenance, fuel, those kind of things. And then for your family, what are you paying for childcare, school, your kids' activities, and then entertainment, eating out, personal activities, self-care, streaming and subscriptions, which actually should be up under household, in my opinion. And one thing I didn't mention under household was your groceries, right? So you need to have those things underneath your household. You could even have your eating out and entertainment underneath your household. But the idea is to list out all of those expenses, and then your debts. If you own a home, what is your house payment? If you have a car payment or multiple car payments, if you're married or have multiple drivers in your house, what are your car payment amounts? If you have student loans, what do you pay towards those every month? If you have credit cards, if you have a furniture account, things like that you're paying on monthly, each of those accounts should be its own line item. And you should include the total balance you still owe, as well as the monthly amount you're paying towards that debt. because ideally that monthly amount is decreasing as you pay that payment. So to have that amount showing and updating in your budget is a fantastic thing, because while that is a category of debt and you may be like, oh my gosh, I have way too much debt. How am I going to get underneath from this? Well, one of the quick wins that you can get is when you update your budget and you show that balance going down every month. That should be a pat on the back that you're moving in the right direction. Okay. So income, expenses, and debt. And you don't have to title them household, auto, family, entertainment. You can call them fixed expenses, which are expenses you pay every month that don't change. Now, your house payment, your car payment, student loan payments, those are not going to go in that category. Those go in the debt category. That will be its own. But if you have expenses you pay every month where the amounts don't change, those should go under a fixed expense category. And then you have variable. Those are expenses you have that the amount does change every month. Okay. But your debt's always going to be its own. And in addition to that, you should have a category for savings. And in there, it should show, on an ongoing basis, what's in your checking account, what's in your savings account. If you have an emergency fund, what's in there. If you are contributing to your 401k in your budget, you can update that number every month on where your 401k is at. You can update any retirement savings that you have. If you have an IRA, if you have a Roth, if you have cash value life insurance, whatever it is, you can keep those numbers in there as well. Again, another area that as those accounts are growing every month, you can pat yourself on the back that you're doing the work in the areas that you want to. It's not always about how long it's going to take you to get there. It's about creating the habit, going through the exercise, and in all honesty, improving your relationship with money. And so being able to pat yourself on the back as your overall debt decreases and your saving increase is really an important factor of that. Like I said, those little wins that you can get every single month that are moving you in the right direction. It doesn't matter if your budget only affords you to save $25 or $50 a month. It matters if you're doing it, because a lot of people will think, oh, if I'm only got $25 a month to save, why does it even matter if I save it? Right? But if you're saving $100 a month, just to make the math easy here, if you're saving $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. In 10 years, that's $12,000. And so it does matter over time. So let's talk a little bit more about frameworking this out. Create a template with those categories and include your goals. So whether you do this on paper or whether you're tech savvy, you want to create your own worksheet in Excel or a software like that, or you use an app that allows you to build your budget within it, which I personally do. So I have an app, all my expenses, all of my income, all of my debt, everything is set up in there, and it's Rocket Money that I've chosen to use. And there's a couple of reasons. One, because it's quick and easy. I can link it to my bank account. It's going to pull everything in when I do that. And so the very first month you set it up, it's going to pull everything in, and you can sit and assign those categories within there, and it'll automatically kick them over there all the time. It's going to let you know if the software will let you know if they think there's a potential savings on one of your bills, like maybe your cell phone or something like that. In Rocket Money, they'll also help you cancel subscriptions if you need to. I do a subscription audit like every 6 months, because as a business owner, depending on where my focus is in a given quarter or a given year, I may utilize some apps that cost $3 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, right? And I use them quite a bit during a period of time, but maybe then I fall off, or maybe I've created what I need to, or I'm using a different tool than I was originally, but I don't cancel that subscription. And so it sits out there, and it may only be $5 or $10 a month, but that adds up too. So I do an audit every 6 months to go through in those specific line items to make sure I'm not paying for something I'm not utilizing. And then Rocket Money will actually help you cancel those subscriptions if they're able to. A lot of times they are. So it's super convenient for a lot of different reasons. if you set it up right from the beginning. So that would be that would be my challenge for you to make sure you do. But it can save a lot of time because it does it for you, and you can do a lot of things with a click here and a click there. So however you do it, you want to create that template with those categories, right? Like I mentioned, income, fixed expenses, variable expenses, and then even you can have an occasional expense category. That's going to be things like your savings for birthday or Christmas, what you expect to spend, not your savings, what you expect to spend for the year in those categories. Like I normally spend, say it's $1,000 a year on Christmas and $50 per birthday. What does that add up to for the people I'm purchasing for? And I'm going to have those line items. Now, as I budget every month, it's going to show I don't use any of that money in some months, especially Christmas, right? So it's going to show I budgeted for spend each month because we broke your budget down from a monthly perspective. But then come December and I do my Christmas shopping, all of that's going to file in there. So over the year, it's going to accumulate that extra in there from the budget. Then when I spend, it's going to offset that. And the idea is that you stay in line with what you budgeted to spend for those things. Okay. And then, of course, your debt and your savings, like we already talked about. So to go a little deeper in, once you have that template set up and you know you've got everything in place, you're going to track your actuals as they come in every month, okay? So go to your bank account. If you're using an app, it's going to pull it in for you if your bank account's attached. And so it will alert you if there's a new expense that doesn't have a category. And you can go and look at what that thing is and figure out where to put it. Maybe you added an expense you didn't have along the way. You can create a line item for that and then put it in the category it belongs in. The idea here is once your budget is set, and that's why it's so important to get all of those details I said before in gathering your information, you are not going to change your set budget. You're just going to record the actuals each month. Now, when I say you're not going to change that budget, when you create this, you're not going to change it for the first 3 months because those variable categories are going to teeter from here to there. Maybe you had family come in town and so you spent a little more on groceries than you normally do, or whatever the case may be, right? So what you really want to do is track your actuals for 3 months and then see where you're coming in alignment with your budget. Maybe one month you eat out more than you don't, or you eat out less than you normally do. And so all of those things are going to play in. And then at the end of that first 3 months, you're going to look at where you came in alignment with your budget and make adjustments that are necessary at that point. Our goal is to get as close to actual on an ongoing basis as possible. And maybe it's a spread over the years, so it's not going to be perfect on a couple of line items, but for the most part, you can really dial it in pretty closely. Once you have that and you're moving forward, your budget's going to identify for you one off situations here and there. Like I said, you had family come in town. So maybe you did some extra entertainment expenses than normal. Maybe your grocery bill was higher than normal. Okay, well, those were one off items. So you can note that or you can flag those in some way so that you don't, when you look at your budget, you're not thinking, oh, I totally missed the mark this month. Well, why? Was it something you planned for? Was it something unexpected? And understanding that can help you give yourself grace in the process because it's never absolutely to the penny perfect. There's always a little fluctuation there. And the goal of creating a budget is not to beat yourself up over where you slip or stumble or have an unexpected expense or whatever the case may be. It's just to make sure you're paying attention to it. And so if you have a month where you had family in town, you went and did activities a little more than usual, whatever, maybe you pulled some money out of savings to be able to help you do that. Does that make sense? Like that's the whole point of creating that savings category is you have a savings that you utilize for things like that. You have an emergency savings that you don't use unless it's an emergency. And then you have your savings things for retirement or whatever in the future, your kids' college, all that kind of stuff, right? So the idea with the budget is we are assigning a job to our money. This $100 job is to pay my cell phone. This $200 job is to pay my car insurance. You're giving each segment of money a job, an ownership, a responsibility in your budget. And then you're reviewing it. and you're making adjustments, again, I would not adjust anything for a 3-month time frame, because you could have some anomalies in there that shift. And what we're looking for is what on your variable expenses. Okay, this month you spent 400 on groceries. Next month you spend 450, and the last month you spend 350. Okay, well, what does that net out to? 400. So you keep 400 in there, because you're going to have months that maybe you have some overages and months that you have some underages as well. So the point of a budget is not to beat yourself up, it's to identify where you're at and look for opportunities along the way. Now, a couple of things to note. You want to, well, let me step back here. When it comes to the reviewing process, sometimes that is the hardest piece. So what I was going to say is you want to schedule a time for reviewing your budget. If it's every Sunday at 2 o'clock, if it's every Saturday at 4 o'clock, if it's every other, so you're hitting the middle of the month, Sunday at 5, and the end of the month, Sunday at 5. Whatever that is, you want to set up a specific time to do that. So just like you're giving your money a job, you're giving your time a job to make sure you're getting your budgeting exercise done. Now, this experience is not always the funnest, depending on where you're at. Sometimes it's a huge celebration, like you paid a bill off that month. You should absolutely celebrate that. And sometimes it's, you didn't do so great that month. Okay, well, let's look at the reality of what it is. Maybe it's not as bad as you thought. Maybe it is. And so you got to dial in a couple other categories to get yourself back online. That's the power of a budget, is it can help you to do that. If you're looking at it regularly, you're not going to end up 6 or 12 months down the road having overspent month after month after month. And because you had money in your account, you figured you were good, but you saved nothing. You paid nothing but the minimums on your credit cards. And you could have actually impacted those by, goodness sakes, you could have impacted those by reducing your debt. Right? So it's the idea of going through the process. Now, I tell couples I work with and individuals I work with, grab your favorite drink, go to your favorite spot in the house or out on the patio, whether it's a beer, a glass of wine, a soda pop, just an iced tea, whatever it is, just relax in a space that you're comfortable with your favorite drink and go through the budgeting process. If you are staying on top of it, it should never take you more than 15 to 30 minutes to update your budget. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm off. And if you're struggling to stay in track in a category, get with your financial professional, get with your whatever it is, your CPA, your bookkeeper, whatever, your spouse, if they're the ones that manage the transactional stuff, although they should be sitting there with you. This is a practice. If you have a partner or a spouse that contributes to your budget and it's all combined, this is something you should be looking at together without question. Not so that you both have your hands in the pot if that's not what works with you for you, but so that you're both aware of what's going on. You should always be aware of everything that's happening financially together. Because look, if one of you stumbles, the other one can pick you up. If a family vacation is important this year, you guys sit down together and assign $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it is, to that vacation budget. And you can sit there and watch that growing and know that you're going to have a great trip in a few months and you're going to have your money saved. You're going to be able to pay cash for everything. And you're not going to have to stress about how to pull that off, or that to go on a family vacation, you're going further into debt. Okay. So 15 to 30 minutes every week or every other week is going to keep you on track with this process. And it's going to create a habit of paying attention to your money. That is the most important thing that you can do, is pay attention to your money. Where's it going? Why is it going there? Where am I doing great? Where am I struggling? Where do I get to pat myself on the back? Because at the end of the day, nothing changes if nothing changes. You have to be serious about your budget. Do you really intend to make some changes? Or do you really intend to figure out exactly where it is you are at so that you know the direction you want to move forward in? You've got to commit to yourself to stay the course with this process. It's not always fun, but every little bit matters. Remember, I said I do a subscription audit every 6 months. If you have subscriptions that total $50 a month, that's $600 per year. What else could that $600 be doing if it's not going towards things that you're actually utilizing on a regular basis and that you can actually afford? Let's be honest, you can budget for a lot of things, but can you actually afford all those things? And that takes me to another important thing. Sometimes putting your budget together makes you realize how much you cannot afford, and it can help you say no to yourself. It can help remind you that you have bigger goals than that $200 pair of shoes or that night out with your friends, dropping a couple $100 at dinner for a couple of drinks, going to the concert, whatever it is. If you have financial goals that you're trying to accomplish, having a budget can be an incredible tool in helping you to achieve those. Are you on track? Where do you have opportunities for improvement? And look, sometimes at the end of the day, do I need to make more money? A lot of the times, especially right now, inflation is through the roof. The stock market's all over the place. People aren't getting the raises they thought they were going to get. Your business maybe isn't bringing in what you thought. Maybe it's a slow time of year for you, whatever, right? It is so, it's so important that you are looking at those things. You are looking for the opportunities to make adjustments. So you are creating a healthy habit or a healthy relationship with your money. And it's important to remember, y'all, Rome wasn't built in a day. When you stumble, get back on track. Create ways to think about spending differently. And most importantly, when you're able to reward yourself. If you stay on course for 3 months, you and your spouse, you and your partner, you and your girlfriends, then go out and have a nice dinner out or splurge on a concert or maybe a massage or a pedicure or whatever it is, right? Give yourself rewards along the way. If you start a budget and you realize, holy smokes, I'm spending $300 a month on Starbucks. I can certainly cut that back. Well, when you go a whole month, the very first month, you cut your Starbucks in half or you eliminate it completely, then treat yourself and go get one. But at the end of the day, if you need to make more money, the first thing you can do is look within your budget and see if there ways to reallocate your money and give it different jobs. Is the opportunity there to cut your entertainment budget in half so that you can start a savings account or so you can increase what you're saving? When I go through the process of gathering all the information to help my clients build their numbers, we have an in depth conversation about their goals and their dreams when it comes to their finances. Yeah, we definitely talk about what that looks like in retirement. But what about between now and then? I mean, if I'm talking to a couple that's in their 30s and we're talking about saving money for when they retire at 60, 65, 70, whatever that is for them, that's a huge gap in time. What dreams and goals do you have to accomplish financially between now and then as well? Like, do you want to own a couple of investment properties that can help bring in extra income that can then be turned around and saved for your retirement future? Do you want to go on a family vacation every year? All of those things should be accounted for when you're building a budget. And then maybe you can't impact all of them at once. Most people can. But where's the highest priority? Where do you start? Is it with that emergency fund? Is it with a cash value life insurance policy that does two things? That puts protection in place for your family, but also allows you to save money tax free long term for your future? Right? It's what are your goals? What is important to you? And for everybody, it's different. For everybody, it's different. And whatever that looks like for you is what your budget should be built around supporting. And over time, you can add more and more of those dreams and goals into your financial picture. When you pay down debt, you'll have more available to start working towards some of those other things. When you start that business, when you get your next raise, right? It's a way to look at all of those situations, all of those scenarios, and put things in the right place to create what you want for your life in the future. You have to be willing to say no to some things today to be able to say yes to everything in the future. And one thing I want to touch on, and I will touch on this until I'm blue in the face every chance I get, is stop dreaming within the paycheck you make today. If you make $50,000 a year, don't have $50,000 dreams. What do you really want your future to look like? Let's build it into your budget. Let's build it into your financial plan and create some excitement around it. Have it right there where you see it every week or every other week when you sit down to work on your budget. You see that goal's out there. Maybe right now you can't put anything towards it, but you know it's out there. So you don't just sweep it under the rug and say, just kidding, that one doesn't matter. They all matter. They all matter. And you have a right to dream big. So I want you to dream bigger than your current income. And I'll be honest, like bigger than your current income may not be real big right now. But as you start to build towards that first dream, that second dream, your dreams are going to start growing. I promise you that. I see it every single day as I'm working with my clients. And it's so exciting because we should be able to dream bigger than ever. Our dreams should grow over time. So give yourself permission to do that as well, to dream and to dream big. And then again, I'm going to hit on the point of it is so important to review your budget on a regular basis, whether it's in a spreadsheet, whether it's in a notebook, whether it's in an application. It should be somewhere that works for you, the way your brain works, in a way that's easy for you to utilize and update. Because if it's really convoluted, let's be honest, you're not going to do it. Okay. But I want to challenge you guys to realize that what you put attention on grows. I do a lot of work in my business on personal growth, business growth. And the truth is, in every category of your life, where you place your attention, and intention is where things grow. Yes, most Americans are in debt. Yes, a good percentage of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, regardless of how much that paycheck is, because we live in a society that pushes us to spend, 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 not save, spend. But this is your opportunity to change that. And I'm not saying cut it all the way to the core in the very beginning, but if you have some work to do, you got to know where you're at so you can start working on that stuff. So you can start impacting change in your finances, in your mindset, in your goals. All of those things can change if you'll open yourself up to really looking at where you're at and really being intentional about how you're moving forward with your money. Again, it's not going to happen overnight, but it can happen faster than you think. That $10 a week, that $200 a month, that $1,000 a quarter, that $5,000 a year, it's going to grow if you put it somewhere. The next step is figuring out exactly where to put it so that it can do that for you. And that's going to depend on that's going to depend on quite a few different factors. Like when do you need that money? Is that money for retirement? Is it for your kids' college education? How many years till they go to school? All of those things are going to play into it. But my whole point in this conversation today is you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. You can't bury your head on the sand, under the sand, and just hope you're going to make it another month. You have to know where you're at. And if where you're at is not where you want to be, and if where you're at is upside down every single month, then my challenge to you is to get with somebody that can help you. I know a whole bunch of bookkeepers out there that while most of their work is done for businesses, absolutely would sit down with somebody to help them structure a financial or a budget worksheet if they needed help. If you're not familiar with Excel, I guarantee you probably have somebody in your family who is. If you don't use a financial app, you probably know somebody who does. They can help walk you through it. You can absolutely certainly reach out to me to sit with me and put together a budget and a plan for moving forward financially for yourself or your family. Costs you nothing with me. You have more resources around you than you think. The question is, do you actually want to make a change? Do you want to create a healthier relationship with money? Do you want to put yourself on the path of achieving all your financial goals and dreams? Do you really want to have financial freedom in the future? Getting to anything you really want takes sacrifice along the way. And that'll look a little bit different for everybody, just like your budget will look a little different for everybody. But y'all, I'm challenging you to start today. The best day get your arms around your money is today. The best day to start saving is today. The best day to start dreaming is today. Because no matter where you're at today, you can't go back and change what got you here, good, bad, or indifferent. But you can change everything moving forward if it's important enough. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of crazy things going on in the stock market. Interest rates are up. Inflation is up. People are having a harder and harder time making their paychecks stretch to cover their expenses because things cost more. My gosh, have you bought eggs lately? Good grief. Last week, we decided to get takeout one night. I have 5 people in my household. Here in Texas, we have Whataburger. I don't know where else they are, but it's our favorite. I used to be able to go to Whataburger for 5 of us. 18 months ago when my parents moved here, I could go to Whataburger and it would probably cost $40, $45-ish. I went to Whataburger, the same 5 people, same 5 meals. It cost me $80 last week. When things like that have doubled or close to doubled, it's hard to stay on track. So I challenge you, get all your numbers together, sit down and put together a budget. If you need help, ask for help. There are people in your family, people in your friends group. Have a conversation with them about what they're doing. And most importantly, if you need more help than that and really putting together a plan and really starting to dream and really starting to say, how do I make this happen? Then reach out to your financial professional. If you don't have one, reach out to me. I love the work that I do because I wake up every day helping other people. I invest in other people's financial future every single day. That's what I'm here for. So if you need my help, go to the show notes. You can get my contact information. I would be more than happy to help you. But it's time to start looking at your numbers. It's time to allow yourself to dream and to put together a plan to get from where you are today to where you truly want to be in the future and experience the things and the financial freedom you want along the way. It is possible. So that's my challenge to you guys today. And if you need help, please, again, reach out. I would be happy to spend some time with you and help see how I can help you and your family get back on track. So thank you for joining me today on the Nickels and Dimes Finding Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Keim, and I look forward to continue to bring you amazing content each week that will educate you, support you, and help you find financial freedom. I look forward to having you listen and learn in future episodes. And until then, take care and stay safe.